If I'm a prospective juror, it takes me back to the slurred audio, May 10th, month and a half before his death. You heard that tape. You recorded it, Conrad Murray. If you loved him so much, you should have got him the help he needed rather than ordering another boatload of propofol.
It's a great argument. And by the way, Mike, I don't know if you're noticing Chernoff while Walgren's making that statement is rubbing his forehead. He seems so stressed. He's thinking, somebody give me the propofol and get me out of here. Because that's a great argument. And David Walgren hit it home. Talked about the fact that if he really cared, he would have never done this. And the other doctors substantiated that. Even Paul White said he would have never done that. So I think those are great points, and I think the jury's going to mull that over.
Okay, as this jury's into day 2, almost 8.5 hours now, those kind of points that you and I just laid out there, those are like those common sense, emotional points that get you in the gut, that make you think, yeah, if he loved him, he should have done something for him. Is that the guts of the deliberations, or do you think it's more the science? And who is self-administered, or who injected that last dose of propofol?
Mike, it could be anything. The dynamic of the jury is very unique in every situation. They could arguably come back with a not guilty verdict on a point that we didn't even discuss yet. There's so many random possibilities that this jury could come back with. We don't know. Are they going to find him guilty on the causation issue, on the abandonment issue? Is there some other issue that we didn't discuss? Is it any of the points of deviation that really got the jury? It could be a plethora of evidence that Walgren laid out. That's why I think the prosecution has such a strong case, because there's 32 or 42 issues they could use that Walgren pointed out to find this guy guilty. But you just never know.
Is a huge defense hope that the jury believes Michael Jackson administered that last dose, and that could be the overriding argument for them, even though the prosecution says even if he did, Murray's still guilty?
That might have been a possibility, Mike, but Chernoff never talked about the reasonable doubt instruction. The reasonable doubt instruction should have been discussed because it tells jurors that it's the highest level of certainty. It actually shows the jurors the threshold that Walgren needed to meet, and that wasn't discussed. So maybe that would have been a possibility, but since that wasn't discussed, who knows? This could be anything. There could be a wild card in that jury where maybe one of the jurors got stuck on something and is refusing to vote guilty. Who knows? But Chernoff should have discussed the reasonable doubt jury instruction, and maybe if it did, you know, there would have been a possibility of a hung jury or an acquittal in this case.
Got it. Okay, again, we're on verdict watch here at HLN. Jury deliberating almost 8.5 hours now. A couple things I want to let you know about. Go to HLNTV.com. You can meet the jurors, check out the 10 most shocking or memorable moments from the trial as well. And we're going to be playing you more of that exclusive interview with Michael Jackson's dermatologist, Dr. Arnie Klein, who again was vilified in this case. So keep it right here. Questions, your comments as this jury continues to deliberate. What do you think? What verdict will they reach? Want to hear from you? Call me up, 1-877-TEL-HLN. Go to HLNTV.com if you want to study up a little bit more before you call. You can meet the jury. 12 people are deciding this case, 7 men, 5 women. Let's go to our experts. John Manuelian with us, criminal defense attorney. John, that refrain from Chernoff. They want a conviction based on Michael Jackson. It all kind of fits. You know, there's Demerol, there's Dr. Klein, he craved drugs, right? That was their argument.
It's good soundbite, but you know what? The argument's going to come down to, or the decision's going to come down to, what's the evidence in the case? It all sounds good for the television set, but in reality, the jurors are going to go down and look at all of the evidence very thoroughly, see what, if any, promises Walgren made and Chernoff did, and who backed up those promises. And Walgren did back up those promises. And again, Chernoff didn't talk about reasonable doubt, didn't talk about the highest level of certainty required under the law. There were a lot of things that he didn't tie up with his opening statement, so he left a lot of things floating out there, but it does make for a good soundbite.
You think it could have been second-degree murder? Let's get our experts to weigh in. John Manuelian, criminal defense attorney. Would it have been a strong second-degree murder? Because Lynn here is thinking, hey, involuntary and a max of 4 years isn't enough.
Remember what happened in the Casey Anthony case. I believe that was a not guilty because the prosecutor overcharged. If they did the same thing in this case, they would have had a much more difficult time solidifying a conviction on this case. So involuntary manslaughter is the right way to go because it's easier for a prosecutor to convict him on the evidence that they had.
A verdict is in. Now, we do not know that verdict. Here's what's going to go down. The initial announcement was that they need 2 hours to assemble all the particulars, family members, get the lawyers back to the courthouse. But we can tell you this, right now. A verdict is in the Michael Jackson death trial after 10 hours of deliberations. Let's get our experts weighing in on this. You can call as well. 1-877-TEL-HLN is the phone number. Joining us once again, our attorneys, John Manuelian, joining us from Los Angeles, Holly Hughes here in Atlanta. John, I'll start with you. 10 hours. We have a verdict. Any thought, one way or another, after that time frame here?
You know, I said last week that I thought the verdict would come on Friday, but the latest Monday, and that if it did, it would be a guilty verdict. Mike, I would be shocked if it came back to be a not guilty verdict. So I'm saying that it's a guilty verdict at this time, and it came right about the time that I thought it would come down.